Hello everybody and welcome back, and I've got another replay for all of you, and this time it's me playing a Sims. That's right, the Destroyer Sims, a ship I've had a very strange sort of relationship with. I remember purchasing the ship way back during the pre-order phases, and after getting her then, I really liked her. And then the game went to release, and I stopped liking her. And my first couple of battles with her were really rough, and I just didn't enjoy the ship. And so I started to really hate the ship, and I didn't touch it for a very long time. And until pretty much a few days ago, I started to sort of go, alright, let's give the ship a chance again, because, you know, there's only so many things I've got left that I haven't really played. So grabbed my Des Moines Captain and moved it over to The Sims. And my Des Moines Captain is one I've actually got equipped with Demo Expert, not AFT. And I threw the captain onto the ship, and she immediately started to perform again. And I sort of realized that I had made a mistake, I think, before, where the last time I tried to play her, I had the captain loaded with AFT. But The Sims with Demo Expert has a much better fire chance, and once she has a better fire chance, she becomes a much better gunboat. So for those of you who have a Sims and are struggling a little bit with her, opt for Demo Expert instead of AFT, and mostly because with the way the USN 127 arcs are, having AFT doesn't really benefit you all that much, because if you try to shoot even further away at range, you really just aren't going to hit anything. Might as well get a little bit closer, use that agility of your ship to dodge and weave, and then just set more fires. And so this entire battle is going to be me gunboating, mostly because there's no caps to go for, as it is a standard battle. So gunboating away, and take note that one of the things that you'll see me do very often is, aside from I think one or two occasions, in most cases I will always be a secondary target. I will be something that is among other ships that are more juicy as targets. In a way, I'm using other people as bait, but that's also, in a way, for this particular ship, a good way to play her. Because if there are other things like cruisers or battleships, they are the higher threat potential ship. As a destroyer, I'm not exactly the highest, most threatening thing, right, in terms of the threat factor. So what I will do a lot of times with the destroyer is sort of hang around these other higher threat ships and then support them with gunfire. And that's the essence. That is the essence of any gunboat. So you could play a Farragut, you could play a Mahan, although Mahan has better torpedoes, so there is a slightly different playstyle there. But with things like the Farragut, yes, the Mahan, even the Benson, so on and so forth, any gunboat, whether it be Russian or USN, or even IJN if you can actually get it to work, the approach is all the same. You're always trying to not be out there by yourself, trying to solo the enemy team. What you're trying to do most of the time is be that support, and always be that ship that's not so high up on the threat factors. So enemy ships will always see you as sort of a tertiary target, and they'll always worry about something else first. And while they're focused on other things, you pop out, and using, especially on the USN ships, their extremely high rate of fire to set as many fires as possible. So this Iowa, bam, 2 fires already. Another thing about playing gunboats, is any gunboat actually, is always remember to make sure you target sectors of a ship. So if you've set one fire, don't just keep firing in that same area. Change where you are aiming to see if you can get a second fire in a different place. So let's say I set a fire at the stern, then at least try to get 1 or 2 fires on the superstructure. And if that is done and you've already got like 2 or 3 fires raging, then that's okay, just keep spamming away at the same area. But if you only got 1 fire, make sure you try to get the second one by setting a different sector of the ship on fire. Sims also has 2 sets of torpedoes. She's got the 5.5 kilometer set and the 9.2 kilometer set. And this is kind of an interesting choice. When I played The Sims, I tried it with the 9.2s. And the best way to describe the 9.2 kilometer torpedoes is, first of all, they're super slow. But the main purpose of the 9.2 kilometer torpedoes seems to be to just zone people out of places. So you prevent them from going to certain places, and occasionally hope, of course, for flooding. But mostly that's the purpose, it seems like. If somebody wants to turn away, no, you just have torpedoes. You force them to turn into other places that they maybe not want to go. continue to set fires with guns. And with the demo expert, you will find that generally the fires are a little bit more consistent. And as long as you get more consistent fires, you will do pretty good with the US destroyers. I would personally say, though, after playing The Sims a little bit more, I would still say take the 5.5 kilometer set. Why? Because if you run into a ship, really, let's say too much health and you're like one of the fewer ships remaining, you have to take it out. The 5.5 kilometer set, if you rush in and YOLO, I think are better set. They're more likely to guarantee you that kill. So I would still recommend, I would say, to opt for that 5.5 kilometer set. Shorter range, but much higher damage, and easier to hit with when you're trying to get close. 9.2 kilometer set, like I said, mostly zoning purposes. Okay, so help the team sink the Iowa. Not really going to engage another destroyer, especially one like a Benson, because I am not super confident the Sims can beat out a Benson head-to-head. So instead, I'm going to try to avoid the Benson, and I'm going to go and poke something else, namely the Colorado that's by himself. Again, this is mostly made possible because I've got a little bit of support again. One of my division mates, and this would be Tofu, is playing another destroyer, and if you look on the mini-map, Tofu is further down on the F line while I'm still on the E line. Once again, this provides me with a little bit of that sort of supporting secondary position, that I'm not the main target. If the Colorado is going to shoot anything, it's either going to be something bigger that's further behind me, or it's going to be something closer that's equally small. And so that's the thing about gunboats, and it's not just the US gunboats that you have to really think about this, it's the Russian gunboats as well, where you want to be in that position. I keep talking about this when you're playing these kinds of ships, is you want to be in that secondary position. And while you're in that secondary position, you can either choose to push up with the first line or hang back with the line behind you. So you're sort of in that in-between space. And what generally allows you to do when you're in that in-between space is not to be a priority at all for a lot of ships. And so you can sort of sit there and basically be the ultimate form of harassment. And typically speaking, if I'm a battleship player and I run into destroyers that do this, it drives me through the wall because they're at a range that they're not easy to hit. They're at a range where they can hit you, and they're also not exactly the biggest priority target. So if you waste a salvo on them, you've wasted a lot of damage potential if you're on a battleship. Potentially you could have hit somebody else, let's say another battleship, for 12, 13, 15,000 damage, and instead you try to hit a destroyer where you might net 2,000 to 3,000 damage. So it is something that if you are playing a gunboat, whether it's US or Russian gunboats, this is something you really have to think about. Japanese gunboating, it's doable. I'm not saying that Japanese gunboating is an impossible thing to do. It's doable, but Japanese gunboating tends to depend more on the Invisifire concept, or stealth firing. So Japanese gunboats are a little bit different. American and Russian gunboats, it's actually okay if you're spotted. You don't have to permanently be invisible when you're firing. It's okay to be spotted as long as you stay active in trying to dodge. Alright, so the Colorado sort of pulled further behind an island, and not only that, there was a Baltimore there. So me and Tofu, both of us turned around and decided to disengage, which is not exactly a bad thing because you don't really want to go and piss off cruisers. Cruisers are bad news, especially if you are in a destroyer. So instead what I'm doing is I'm looking to see if the enemy team is going to be pushing out cap, and if so, is my cap in danger? In this particular case, not at all. We have 3 battleships, a destroyer, and a cruiser on cap, and they only seem to have a battleship and 2 cruisers, so not really worried about cap. More worried about constantly being spotted by planes, so trying to do everything possible to essentially play keep away with planes. It's not all that possible. The best you can do against dive bombers is often to just try to form some sort of T with them. So basically you are in a position where they're coming at you from the side instead of from either straight back or straight to the front. So you kind of want to give them a broadside, and that generally will minimize hits as well. So that's something you could do in a destroyer, but again, you are going to be taking hits. Alright, so this part is kind of cool because you'll see that the enemy shores is actually behind an island, and yet you see me still shooting at that shores. And this is a particular advantage for the USN 127s, is that the arcs are so high that when they reach target, they're coming pretty much straight down. And so that allows you to engage targets where if you're playing other ships, you might not be able to engage. And that's just basically being able to lob shells way up and then have them come straight down. So if they're behind island cover, you can still hit them. That's kind of a unique-ish trait of US destroyers and these 127mm guns. Something that you can definitely think about. Sometimes with other ships where you're like, oh, I can't really hit them there. The US ones, you probably could. Again, enemy Colorado is isolated, so yeah, you figure that I'm going to try to take shots. Sadly, before I even manage to line up a shot properly, I'm watching the bombers go in. I'm like, okay, forget it. Looks like I'm not going to get it. So turn my attention over to the shores, which is really, really damaged, and trying to, and once again, don't get the kill. Alright, that's okay. So far, done pretty good in Sims. 55,000 damage. Looks like my cap is, everything is okay. Enemy Turpits is over here. By the way, you really gotta watch the reaction of this Turpits, because this was one angry Turpits. And I mean, can I understand this? Yeah, I can. I'm a Battleship player too. I can totally understand this. Getting killed or getting poked to death by 127mm guns firing HE at you, where each shot doesn't even do that much damage, but the number of fires they set just absolutely will drive Battleship players crazy. Now, I do set one early fire, and the Turpits makes a mistake. Puts out that first fire. So as soon as that first fire got put out, any additional fires I will now set is just going to be glorious, because they will burn for full duration. So I'm just trying to get as many fires as I can. Again, being spotted by planes and being spotted on the surface, you know, you got to play with that mentality, like, you know, being spotted is okay. Planes are annoying, though. Sometimes you do want to be a little bit stealthy, but it's okay. You know, you kind of got to deal with it. All right, so now that the planes are out of the way, immediately pop smoke. Yay for 5.9 smoke circles. They're awesome. You can know exactly where your smoke circles are. If you don't know where to go to enable that, escape, press your settings, go to your controls. There should be something there that says enable smoke boundaries or something like that. Something along those lines. Very, very useful. So I started this engagement with this Turpits around 55k damage. And as you can tell, I'm already 20k damage up. And that's primarily from fires. And of course, being in smoke is also extremely frustrating because the battleship can't fire back. There's my 2 fires. Alright. So now that I have my 2 fires, I can do one of 2 things. I can, oops, accidentally went out of my own smoke because I was a derp. But Lady Luck does occasionally have to smile on me, right? I mean, I can't be bad luck all the way. So in this case, I didn't get punished for it. Whew, you know, lucky. Had I think stayed out there a little bit longer, and maybe the bomber and the... I could have been killed. I have only 2,000 HP. Okay. Fletcher comes in front of me, pops smoke. So that allows me to leave my own smoke and chase the Turpits a little bit more. Once again, you have to remember the 127s do arc really high. So once you get a little bit further away, sometimes it's a little bit harder to hit. So you have to judge your situation and see if there's places you can go, whether it's smoke cover or island cover. Those are kind of things you have to keep in mind. Another thing that you should do when you're playing the USN destroyers is really keep sort of a plot in your head. Oh, and there goes the Turpits. That was Bluetail, and oh boy, not a happy camper with that. I should maybe not have typed that smiley face. Maybe I was me. Well, anyways. Started at 55k damage. I think I ended up doing about 35k damage in fires and HE damage. That's great. Enemy Kiryu, they're all by himself. So of course that, you know, that's just gonna be more HE rain on top of that Kiryu. Gonna set some fires, gonna do some damage, and while carriers are pretty defenseless, as long as I don't get really close with carriers, I should be okay as I don't have to deal with their secondaries. Thing about destroyers, especially if you have guns on your destroyers, if you get close to a carrier, even if you're a torpedo boat like an IJN destroyer, you have to use your guns. Just use your guns. Set fires, do damage, and get into a good enough position, and then use torpedoes. And there it is. The Turpits is still raging. But then again, you know, I was in a destroyer and I gunned him down pretty much for 35k damage. Okay, I mean, I can understand that. Yeah. Ooh, I made him really, really, really mad. Hiryu is just in trouble. With fires, can't really launch or recover aircraft. Also inclined to run. Hello to you, by the way. Okay, so anyways, I'm just gonna keep landing HE on the Hiryu. Typically speaking, if you're US gunboat and you get within range of a carrier, the carrier is kind of screwed. As long as you're able to consistently land hits with your 127mm HE, the repair kits on a carrier, they don't last very long, and it's not enough. And then, of course, I will sail straight into an island because reasons. Oh, come on, come on. I can make a mistake, right? Every once in a while. I can be a derp, right? I'm sorry, Turpits. Look, I'm really, really sorry. I didn't mean to kill you with my puny destroyer guns. I didn't actually kill him. I just really hurt him. I'm really sorry. That's just sorry. Anyways, so yeah, standard battle in a Sims, 262 hits, which is pretty okay. Got 17 fires, which is really the one thing that changes sort of everything about The Sims is once I loaded up Demo Expert and the fire chance went up and I start to get very, very consistent fires, damage in the last couple times we play The Sims has really been significantly better. So for those of you out there who are trying out The Sims and are still wondering, I would really say go and, you know, like, equip Demo Expert on your captain and give it a shot. In fact, if you want to, you could even use like a cruiser captain that has Demo Expert and give it a shot. If you're playing things like the gearing, ships like the gearing, I would say that you could go either or. You can go either Demo Expert or AFT. Although these days I'm becoming more and more convinced that for US destroyers, the Demo Expert is going to be more useful. But anyways, I mean, for those of you who play US destroyers out there and have tried both of them, let me know what you think, by the way. Anyways, we do end up winning the battle as well, even though we do lose that New Orleans, but we still managed to have enough points by the end when time ran out. Anyways, folks, that does it for this video. Let me know what you think about The Sims, if you've had success with her, and you know, what your insights are about this particular ship, and just, yeah, like, leave those in the comment section below. Also, there's going to be another video coming out in not too long from now. I'm going to record a second one. This video was originally supposed to have come out yesterday, but I ran into some bizarre issue where I updated my codec or something, or I installed a codec pack with one of the things that I downloaded and installed. It was like a video player or something like that, and apparently totally screwed up all of my stuff in my video editor. It wouldn't load files anymore. I've uninstalled everything, and it seems to have sort of recovered and it's working again. So I'm gonna go try to get the second video recorded and uploaded ASAP. So expect double today. All right, folks, take care, and I'll talk to you all again in a little bit.